They say a son is a mother's first hero and her last line of defense. We grow up believing that the bond between a parent and a child is a sacred vault, an unbreakable pact of protection. But what happens when the person supposed to be guarding the vault is actually the one picking the lock? My name is Martha. At 68, I thought I knew the layout of my life. I had a comfortable home, a modest retirement, and a son, Stephen, who I believed was my rock. But I recently learned that sometimes the people who scream the loudest about protecting you are simply trying to distract you while they empty your pockets. This is a story about a betrayal that started with a hug and ended with a police report. It's about a new love that was treated like a crime and a son who turned out to be the real villain of the piece. The name of this channel is Spilled at Dinner, and today, the truth isn't just served, it's cold, hard, and undeniable. After my husband passed away 5 years ago, the silence in my house became a physical weight. I did everything I was supposed to do. I gardened, I joined a book club, and I waited for Stefan to call once a week. But the walls felt like they were closing in. Then I met Robert at a local community center. Robert wasn't a flash of lightning. He was a slow, warm sunrise. He was a retired accountant. For the first time in years, I had someone to talk to about more than just the weather or Stephen's latest promotion. We shared dinners, went on long walks, and eventually, we started talking about a future together. I felt like I was waking up from a long, gray sleep. I was happy, truly happy. But in some families, a mother's happiness is seen as a threat to the natural order, especially if that order involves her staying quiet and keeping her assets within reach. When I introduced Robert to Stephen, the atmosphere changed instantly. Stephen didn't see a man making his mother smile. He saw a predator. Within a week, the concern started. Stephen would drop by unannounced, questioning Robert about his finances, his past, and his intentions. "Mom, he's too good to be true," Stephen would whisper in the kitchen while Robert was in the living room. "He's a retired accountant. More like a professional grip. He's looking for a widow with a paid-off house and a pension. I'm just trying to protect you. You're vulnerable, and you're getting older. You're confused about things lately." I wasn't confused. I was vibrant, but the gaslighting was relentless. Stephen staged what he called an intervention. He brought over papers claiming he had done a background check on Robert. He made a massive scene, accusing Robert of being a gold digger right to his face. The pressure was immense. "If you want me to stay in your life, Mom, if you want to see your grandkids, I need to know you're safe. I need to take over the management of your accounts, just to keep the vultures away. Let me handle the bills. You just enjoy your little friendship with Robert, and I'll make sure he can't touch a dime." Under the weight of his guilt-tripping and the fear of losing my family, I relented. I gave Stephen access. I let him protect me. Robert saw everything. He saw the way Stephen spoke to me like I was a child who couldn't be trusted with a crayon. He saw the way Stephen's concern always led back to my bank login, but Robert didn't fight back with anger. He knew that in a battle a son versus new boyfriend, the boyfriend usually loses. However, Robert had spent 40 years looking at ledgers. He knew that numbers have a way of telling the truth when people are lying. One evening, while I was complaining about a notice of late payment I'd received for my property taxes. Something Stephen was supposed to be handling. Robert's professional ears perked up. "Martha," he said gently, "you have a significant retirement fund and your husband's life insurance. Why would a tax bill be late?" "Stephen said he was optimizing your cash flow, right?" Robert offered to take a look. "Not at my money, but at the logic of the situation." He didn't ask for my passwords. He asked me to pull up my statements while he sat beside me. What he saw didn't just look like bad management. It looked like a crime scene. Robert spent 3 hours that night with a calculator and a notepad. He wasn't looking for Robert's scams. He was looking at where my money was actually going. "Martha," he said, his voice heavy with sadness, "Stephen told you he was moving money into a high-yield protected trust for your future care. But these transfers, they aren't going to a trust. They are going to a private LLC registered in Stephen's name. And look at these withdrawals. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. This has been happening since before I even met you." My heart stopped. Stephen had been draining my accounts for nearly 3 years. The concern about Robert wasn't about protecting me. It was about protecting his access. He was terrified that a man with an accounting background would move into my life and notice that the golden son was actually a common thief. The scandal he created about Robert was a smokescreen. He wanted me to be so afraid of an outside golpista that I wouldn't notice the one sitting at my Sunday dinner table. We decided to set a trap. I invited Stephen over for dinner, telling him I wanted to discuss signing over the deed to the house to him for tax reasons. He arrived with a bottle of wine and a predatory grin, ready to finish the job. But when he sat down, Robert was there too, and instead of a deed, there was a stack of bank statements highlighted in neon yellow. The confrontation was brutal. Stephen tried to lie. Then he tried to cry. Then he tried to blame his investment losses. He screamed that he deserved the money for all the years he spent being a good son. But the mask was off. The man I thought was my protector was revealed to be a parasite who was willing to let his own mother face financial ruin, just to fund his own failed business ventures and lifestyle. I didn't forgive him. You can't forgive someone who uses your love as a map to find your safe. I revoked his access, filed a formal report, and with Robert's help, I've managed to recover about 40% of what was taken. The most painful part wasn't the lost money. It was the realization that I had almost traded a good, honest man for a son who saw me as an ATM. Robert stayed, not for the house, and certainly not for the diminished bank account, but because he actually cared if I was tired or happy. To everyone watching this, greed has no family loyalty. Sometimes, the gold digger is the person who shared your DNA. Don't let your children gaslight you into thinking you're confused just because you found a new reason to smile. If they are suddenly obsessed with protecting your wealth, make sure they aren't just protecting their own interests.